let me be very clear to you straight up.
Right.
No consumer is going to understand this at all. I think consumers are still wetted on this i3, i5, i7, and i9. You are in the market with 3 brands for your GPU. The 3-digit name that I can't remember, and which I can't remember, so that says something about what the consumers are going to remember. When do you think that you guys are really going to be bringing it to Apple in terms of the processors? All right, guys, we've got a very special interview for you guys today. I'm here with Josh Newman from Intel. Josh, do you want to introduce yourself?
Happy to. Josh Newman, Vice President of Consumer Segments in the Client Computing Group. So I look after our consumer PC business.
And it's a very, very exciting time for you guys, and honestly for the consumer industry in general, from a laptop perspective. So Panther Lake, in case you guys haven't heard, just the synopsis of it is this, and Josh, you can correct me if I'm mistaking it, but basically we're really combining that incredible battery life we saw with Lunar Lake with the performance that we saw with, say, Arrow Lake H. And previously, as most of my viewers would know, you kind of had to choose one before, you couldn't get both. Or, and I shouldn't mention this here, but on the Qualcomm side, yes, perhaps you got both, but you had application incompatibility. So this is hopefully a very big launch for you guys where we're kind of fusing the two together.
Yeah, we're incredibly excited about it. Very, very proud of the work. You hit on it. Our current products, the Series 2 Core Ultra family, we had Lunar Lake, which was a very specialized product design where we took a lot of very expensive architecture and packaging techniques to drive power down to the minimal level in a performance x86 system. And then we had Arrow Lake, which was kind of the continuation of the path we'd been on, which was, it was power efficient, but not as power efficient as Lunar Lake, but offered amazing performance range.
Yes,
right?
That's right.
And so we had those 2 products. What the Series 3 Core Ultra or Panther Lake does is it puts the 2 of those together in a single product that scales. That's right.
And just, I mean, for most of my viewers, well, for those who don't know, we generally see like 3 tiers of performance from laptop processors. We kind of see this base tier, which Lunar Lake was in. Then we see this, what I would call a good performance tier, which people like programmers, say, audio engineers would want, even creators. And then we see this highest end tier, which you guys call the HX, which is where we would see for very high-end gaming laptops or video editing laptops, that sort of thing. So we're really talking about those first 2 here, is the sphere of consumers. So now there are really, even within the Panther Lake family, there's really, I would say, 3 main categories of processors. Would that be the right thing? There's the base one replacing, say, Lunar Lake, which is, I believe, 4 core, it's 8 cores,
8
right?
8 total cores, yes.
That's right,
yes.
But it's 4 graphics cores, right?
It is 4 of our XE, our latest generation XE
3 cores.
units. That's right. That's right.
And then you've got the step up, which is the one which is kind of like replacing Arrow Lake H, which has the greater CPU performance. That's the 16 core, but still has that 4 core GPU.
That's right.
And I believe that's the one they're going to combine, obviously, with dedicated GPU laptops. And then you've got the third sphere, which is really that exciting X9, which brings you the 12-core GPU. Is that a summation?
You described it perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah, it really is exactly that. There's this range of a great premium thin and light laptop for productivity, students. Maybe they're not going after the most advanced creator applications or wanting to play high-end games with ray tracing and everything else turned on. Exceptional value. It scales that Lunar Lake experience to a broader range of price points and more systems. The step up from that is the 16-core version. And we generally see that it's going to be in a lot of slim gaming systems, so paired often with discrete graphics.
Yes, we've seen that in the new Slim Ultra from Lenovo, for instance. Right. Fantastic device.
That's right.
Yeah.
But the newest thing, which we've never done before, is this new level of graphics. It's got the Intel Arc Graphics B390. It's 12 of our XE3 IP cores. It delivers gameplay that we believe people will look at and say a thin and light laptop shouldn't game this well. Right? It's really bringing kind of that mobile discrete class performance into a single chip solution. So you can have thinner, lighter designs that can deliver surprisingly good gameplay, including multi-frame generation techniques, ray tracing turned on just for smooth gameplay at 1080p, high settings. We think customers are going to be really excited when they see that. But that also then contributes to the the more advanced AI usages too. So that platform has 180 TOPS across the CPU, GPU, and NPU.
That's right.
So for creators, and not even for just creators, the exciting thing with agentic AI is somebody who has no idea how to use advanced features of Photoshop now can actually use an agentic agent to say, do this for me in Photoshop, and they'll have the performance behind that to be able to do that. So it's actually going to, we think, has the potential to democratize or expand the usage of these more advanced applications.
Yeah. That's very helpful. I do want to correct what I said earlier. This is me correcting myself, actually. The Yoga Slim Ultra actually has that highest processor that you just mentioned, right?
Yes.
The one where you can game on, not the middle one. But it is very, very exciting. And I think something that's interesting as well is on our channel, we're focused on real value for the consumer. And really our job is to, I hate to say this, be at odds versus marketing. Here's the marketing claims of 26 hours battery. Let's bring it back to reality of what it's actually going to be for most people. One thing that I wanted to touch on was AI, which you just mentioned. 2 years ago, when Intel came out with Meteor Lake, and we got this NPU and everyone was talking it up, but what we found when we tested even a year later is many applications still weren't even using the NPU. But I think now what we're starting to see is more of an application, which we didn't really see before, that some of the software started to catch up. And you mentioned, say, video editing, and I think the advantage for AI on the edge, as they tend to call it, versus the cloud, is you don't have to, say, upload that project to the cloud to perform the AI and then re-download it, which is obviously a very latency-intensive operation.
That's right.
So I think we're starting to see some kind of come through.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not just the NPU, it's the AI compute that's available in the GPU as well. And so because it's that bigger Intel Arc GPU integrated, it's now got even more of that. But you hit it. It's having that locally. It allows you to keep your projects local, but also allows some of the application and service providers to kind of rethink what they have to support in their data centers versus what they can take advantage of in the client, and have a kind of a hybrid AI approach and offer more value to customers and not have to worry about overrunning their data centers.
Gotcha.
So that we think that's a pretty exciting trend that will emerge out of this. And we've got a lot of ISV engagements and partner engagements that are exploring exactly those kinds of hybrid AI usage.
So it wouldn't be me if we didn't delve into some of the, I would say, issues that we're seeing, especially why I got you here today, Josh, that we're seeing in the consumer laptop space. And one thing that I think has been very challenging is naming of products. And I think there's a couple of facets to this. One is obviously with Lunar Lake and Arrow Lake, people were walking into, say, a Best Buy, and they were seeing a Core Ultra 7, and where they're desperately trying to educate them in what the difference is between a V processor and an H. And I spent 2 days just walking the floor of Best Buy myself, speaking to consumers about how they're picking laptops, and they, under no circumstance, knew the difference.
Right.
So I think, how do you, A, change this for Panther Lake? Because even within Panther Lake, there's really 3 different tiers. And B, how do you address the problem that I see right now, that when you look at the product naming, 388H, or similar number, but with an X9, where H refers to the higher tier 16-core Panther Lake. Without it, it refers to the 8-core. With the X, it means it has the integrated GPU. Let me be very clear to you straight up.
Right.
No consumer is going to understand this at all. How do we solve this?
Yeah, no, it's a fair question, and we put a lot of thought into it. I think where we're coming from with our 2025 product lineup, because we had 2 different products to address the breadth of the market needs, that problem was even more complex to try to solve. So they were both under the Series 2 umbrella, and you had to know which 3-digit processor number with which suffix to look for if you really wanted to make sure you got the right one. With the Panther Lake, it's the Series 3 Core Ultra family. And the first thing we did was we put the Series 3 on the badge.
Okay.
So on the device, on the badge, it will clearly say Series 3 Core Ultra. That's a change. We didn't have with Meteor Lake and with Arrow Lake and Lunar Lake, we didn't have the series number anywhere on the badge. You had to go deep into the spec pages or go to arc.intel.com to figure out what you were looking at, which most consumers won't do, right? The second thing we did was we looked at the brand levels, the 5, 7, 9, and as we brought this new Intel Arc graphics option in with the 12XE, like there's so many different combinations or configurations that the 5, 7, 9 levels was going to be insufficient to signal to consumers which one was which. So for the Intel Arc 12XE version, we added the X7 and X9 levels. So the X, which will also be on the badge on the device, will clearly signify that that's the one with the full complement of graphics capability. So it's putting in really, obvious visual cues on the badge, on the device, some differentiation that we didn't have before. But trying to keep it simple enough so it's not overloading it, so it's not unreadable because you're putting so much on the badge. Right. So those are two of the things we did to simplify. There is still, you could have a Core Ultra Series 3 Core Ultra 7 that has the 8 cores like we talked about for the base kind of thin and light experience. And then a similar looking badge with the 16 cores that also is an Ultra 7. So there will be some of those cases that you'll have to know the next level of detail. But in general, the systems they get put on will self-align a lot of that. So I mentioned earlier that the 16 core Ultra 7, for example, generally you're going to see it a lot in the consumer systems with discrete graphics in more slim gaming oriented chassis.
Yeah.
Right. And which is hard to confuse with that, more general purpose thin and light productivity machine.
Yeah.
So we think that's also going to help, how they get positioned into the OEM portfolios, so that there shouldn't be too much of that overlap.
Gotcha. And I want to drill into this a lot because I think this is honestly one of the biggest issues in the consumer space is this naming. And I agree that I think things are a little better this year, and I'm glad we're having this conversation. But let's call a spade a spade. These processors aren't named M4, M4 Pro, and M4 Max, right? Which is much simpler. So just correct me if I'm wrong here, because I haven't looked into the lower SKUs, the ones with the 8-core CPUs. Are they also have a 7 and 9 version or not?
Not. So the 8-core there's a Series 3 Core Ultra 5 and a Series 3 Core Ultra 7.
Okay. Yep.
The 16-core is a Series 3 Core Ultra 7 and a Series 3 Core Ultra 9.
Yeah.
And then with the 12XE, it's 16 cores, it's Series 3 Core Ultra X7 and Series 3 Core Ultra X9.
Yeah.
So the one space there is some overlap is that Core Ultra 7 Series 3. But like I said, those two products will generally be in very different chassis, right? Or targeted at different consumer audiences.
Understood. And I think I hear that, and I think I get what you're saying, but you do have a lot of laptops like, say, the ZenBook 14 that they do have a high-end, the 16-core CPU, but the laptop somewhat looks like it's a pretty ultrabooky kind of laptop. Yeah. The Dell XPS 14, another example, very thin, very compact laptop. It's going to be very hard for a consumer to know that has the 16 core or can have the 16 core versus similar size laptops that don't.
Yeah, so one of the things we do besides just the branding, one of the things we try to do is simplify the branding, but make it as complex as it has to be to cover the breadth of the range we're trying to cover, which, it's hundreds of designs, it's the global coverage of the market, it's many different OEMs with different segments they're targeting. So we try to make the branding as simple as possible. We do have to make it as complex as it has to be because of the breadth of the range. We spend a lot of energy and investment at retail on both training physical retail salespeople to be able to distinguish which versions of the products it is. But also we have tools that are point of sale tools that we call the Intel point of sale tool, which people can walk up and on the screen quickly see the features and see it's a 16 core or it's an 8 core in terms of what we do. And we work with a lot of the retailers to use that as their primary point of sale.
Look, I would say this, having spent a couple of days actually on the floor of retailers, and obviously spending my entire life dealing with the end consumer, as I'm sure you are as well, but they don't know this. It's not seeping through. There are people on the floor, like when you look at a rep of one of these retailers, there tends to be two types of reps. The rep that was kind of hired off the street because maybe they game or they've built their own PC and they're landing there, but they don't really know this information. And there's the reps that just love this space and do. And and the training is not as much filtering through. So anyway, I'll cut a long story short. Here's my feedback here on this one. I think consumers are still wetted on this i3, i5, i7, and i9. That's been in the market for ages. I think where you've got problems is that there's 2 7s right now. There's one with the Core 8, the 8 core, one at the 16 core perform very differently. I think knowing that these new numbers mean something to the consumer, I think you've got to have a cutoff. Maybe i7 and 9, or Core Ultra 7 and 9, they're the powerful ones with the 16 core. There should be no overlap on numbers with a massive performance difference. So the 8 core could be like the Core Ultra 3 and Core Ultra 5, right? I think it's that overlap there that's kind of really adding to the confusion. And then the other bit of feedback I would give is the X signifying graphics. You are in the market with 3 brands for your GPU. Thank you. One is that X means the powerful integrated GPU. The other is your Arc B, the 3-digit name that I can't remember, and which I can't remember, so that says something about what the consumers are going to remember. And the other one is XE3. So I think you really need to just choose one, and everyone's been talking XE3 for the last 6 months, so maybe it's that. Or you've just rebranded it, the X to be what is it, 3?
Yeah, it'd be 390.
390. So choose one of the 3 and just run with it.
Feedback taken, and it's very good feedback. You know, and acknowledge the one place we do have that overlap. It's still not as perfect as we like it to be. Hopefully, you acknowledge we're getting better.
Yes, of course.
But because we acknowledge this challenge as well. So I have no pushback on your feedback. But we do strive to make it better every generation. On the graphics one, you know, when we talk about XE3 and those are very much when we talk to you and the industry about the IPs and the architecture. When we go out and try to talk to consumers, the work we do to try to train RSPs and acknowledge that it's a mixed bag in terms of how much it lands, we keep working to make that better. It's a massive focus and investment for us, right? So rest assured that is something we are trying to make better, that the RSPs and the point of sale material is clear. But as far as talking to consumers, what we want them to see is simply when it's a Core Ultra X7, they see the X7 on the badge, and then, I didn't mention this earlier, but separately, those systems are also eligible to carry the Intel Arc badge. So if they're looking for something that is discrete graphics type of marketing, that's available as well. So you see the processor badge, the Intel Arc badge, and that's where the Intel Arc B390 brand string could come in. Different OEMs will use those tools, those brands maybe a little differently. We're trying to really give guidelines to drive as much consistency as possible and drive resonance, because I agree that's what we need to do.
Look, I don't want to belabor the point because we've been up for a while, but I think, Josh, you hear the feedback. I think even when you're using these technical names to people like us, they are permeating into the media.
That's fair.
And then you've got to spend a huge amount of marketing dollars to rebrand it. So I think you've heard the feedback. I think because we're running out of time, there's 2 other things I wanted to say. One, again, constructive, and one positive. I guess it's not constructive, but I think everyone wants to know the answer to this one. There is no doubt that Panther Lake is going to be awesome. Awesome. I am really excited about it. I think we've tested a little bit of it. I can't tell people benchmark results, but it is looking really, really solid. And I think it's going to be, honestly, one of the best CPUs we've got, certainly in the first half of this year, if not the best. It's going to be a very exciting product. With one exception. When do you think that you guys are really going to be bringing it to Apple in terms of the processors?
Great question. It's always kind of a North Star for us to make sure that a creator that maybe even is loyal to the Apple ecosystem has to think twice on his refresh or her refresh because the Intel processor is so good. I think we feel like we're running with them pretty strong right now. Ultimately, long term, as we look to build the best possible products, we want it to be a clear winner without any questions. So no, it's a relentless pursuit every year. So.
And the way I would describe it, Josh, just to be really transparent with the audience here, I don't want anyone walking away thinking Apple has better processors. That would be a mistake. They have pros and they have cons, right? In prior years, I think the pros kind of outweighed their cons significantly. Now with Panther Lake, I think you guys have an incredibly competitive offering. I really do. And I'm not just trying to suck up to you in any way. I've asked you hard questions, but I think that, you know, particularly for my audience, which deals a lot with programmers or people wanting that extra CPU performance, I felt very nervous giving people a recommendation of Lunar Lake. But now you're really closing that gap. So I think we're very, very positive on what we've got coming.
Great to hear.
I think you guys have a great offering. And, you know, I must say it, I normally do some harsh industry feedback videos, but I'm actually planning to do one on maybe Intel's turnaround, because I think you guys are really, we've got to start using that term. I think you guys are having a bit of a turnaround.
That's great to hear. The engineers that worked on this worked very hard to deliver an amazing product. We're really proud of what we delivered. We're never going to stop. We're going to keep pursuing more and more every year. But we're very proud. I really appreciate your feedback. The one thing I would also add is that for the whole range that we're giving with Panther Lake, from the kind of baseline productivity thin and lights all the way up to those Core Ultra X9 with the Intel Arc graphics, the battery life is that kind of same battery life promise top to bottom.
That's good.
Which in the past, like a slim gaming processor would have much worse battery life than a thin and light processor. Now we have that's a constant throughout the stack. So
perfect.
I forgot to mention that earlier, but pretty important part of the philosophy of what we were trying to do.
Well, we're being ushered out the door, so I got to say, Josh, big thanks for at least spending the time with me.
Yeah.
And again, you guys are doing great things. I think if people don't see the kind of massive improvement from Intel, I mean, the days of those 10% incremental improvements are well behind us. I mean, we're seeing massive, massive improvements here. So well done, and thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Catch you guys later.